Hey guys, we're back. This time we're talking about the Columbus Crew. Good team, solid team. Love the Crew. As always, going to start in the back with Senior Clark. Solid goalie, $5.5 million. It's hard to differentiate between goalies. They all score so closely together that it's really hard to tell which ones are going to be the best. Ups and downs, but on average, they mostly come out the same unless they lose their starting spot, something like that. But Clark is a good option, $5.5 million. I have no problem with him being on your team. He's solid. Good defensive line in front of him, too, in my opinion. So we'll just move on right to them. We're going to go with Parkhurst. Obviously, we're going to talk about him first because he's a name that most of you might know, especially if you have paid attention to the national team at all in the past 10 years. Parkhurst has been in there. He's been in the hunt. He's not a huge guy, but he is incredibly smart. He just knows how to read the field. I think that's why he's back there. He could play anywhere back on the defensive line, but with Columbus, this is where he plays in the mid. I like him a lot. He's $8 million. I think that's a pretty good deal for him, honestly. I wouldn't have a problem seeing him on your team either. He's not on mine currently, but at some point in the season, there's a good chance he will be. I know I had him last year, and he did all right. But I think for $8 million, there might be a couple other guys that might be a little bit better. But yeah, good option. On this list, we're going with a list from goal.com. It kind of has a preview on it. It's like a little cheat sheet for me in my videos, and I'm kind of going off the information there. But I cannot promise you 100% that the information is correct. I think, somebody got paid to make this article, so I'm sure they did as good a job as they possibly could. But I cannot assure you that the names I give you are positive. I'm just trying to give you some thoughts and ideas for what you want to do with your team and kind of give you my opinion. So the guy they have beside Parkhurst is not a guy named Gaston Sorrow. Cool last name, but I'm probably saying it wrong, so it's probably not as cool as it sounds. He's 7.5. He hardly played last year. I do believe he was with Columbus, but I think he was more of a fill-in guy. They lost somebody from last year. I can't remember who. See if it shows up on our list here. Pogatets, that's right. Pogatets. He's gone. So somebody had to fill his shoes, and for now it looks like it might be the Sorrow guy. Then we'll go out onto the left side. Name, if you've played fantasy in the past, you've probably had him as Francis. Super quick dude. Like him a lot. If you want to pick an outside defender, he's a good option. $7 million. He's not too pricey. And he's going to get an attack. He'll probably have a few assists this year. So he's not going to be on my team because, again, I'm going with pretty much all center backs. But Francis is definitely a solid player on a solid team. It's hard not to like him. On the right side, they have Awful. I don't mean an awful player. I mean a guy named Harrison Awful. Played a bit last year. Let's find how many minutes. 758. Now, I don't know if that was for the Columbus Crew. I do believe it was. Tyson Wall is another guy that has played out on the wings. I think he's played a little bit everywhere. So, again, this is a position where I would just not advise it just because I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if anybody is 100% sure who's going to be filling that role on the right side. Be cautious. If you pick him up, make sure you have a backup. I don't know if I said his price, but it's $7 million, and for a guy you're not sure of getting, I don't think that's worth it at all. So be cautious. Keep your eye on the beginning of the season here. See who actually is starting. If Wall does start for $6 million, it's pretty good. Pretty good. The more I look at their team, the more it looks like it's very similar to who it was last year. Anyway, moving on up to the center midfielders, defensive midfielders. Tony Chani, good guy. Like him a lot. Had him on my team for a bit last year, and he kind of came through for me when I needed him to. I like him. He's a big guy, strong guy, great passing accuracy. I think you'll see some boost from the bonus points. He is $8 million. little on the higher price for a defensive midfielder, but as you can see his points, he had 144 last year. That's pretty good for a defensive mid. It must mean that he gets up in the field further than most defensive midfielders. So keep an eye on him. Probably not going to start with him, but I have a feeling he'll be one of those guys that you might end up with on your team at some point in the season. I think last year he was quite a bit cheaper, which made him easier to put in there, but still, good player, very good player. The guy they have beside him is Trapp. I believe Will Trapp, pretty young kid, but a lot of people like him, especially like national team kind of stuff. A lot of excitement around Will Trapp. He's smart. He's good. $7 million. Not bad price. That's more what you're looking at for a defensive midfielder. I think he's solid. You know, with defensive midfielders, a lot of times they're the guys that kind of have to foul sometimes. They might get extra cards more so than other positions, especially forwards and attacking midfielders. So be cautious of that. But he's a good player. A lot of people like him. Another name I'll throw in there just because I think he needs to be mentioned is Justin Meram. He seems to not have any luck with getting a starting spot all that often. But man, when he plays, he changes the game so often. Scores goals where they're behind, and it changes the whole flow of the game. And Columbus Crew comes back, stuff like that. Just keep an eye on him. He is $8 million. He did score a decent amount of points last year. It's hard for me to believe that he doesn't show up on the starting lineup, but I'm sure there's good reason for it. But yeah, keep him on your radar. Definitely watch him. Don't start with him, but keep an eye. All right, so we're moving up to Higuain. Everybody knows Higuain. He's like an Oompa Loompa. I love him. He's amazing to watch. But he's got a smart soccer brain. He is amazing with chip shots, things like that. His goals are always like so much cooler and finesse looking than most other goals you see in the MLS. Great at free kicks, great at corners, but you have to worry about his age. Getting older, longer recovery time. When he gets hurt, it's going to take him a little bit longer to get back to full strength. And at $10 million, he's a good option to start the season. I'm going to go with that. I like him at the beginning of the season. I think he'll be a great option, especially with the high-powered Columbus Crew offense. You got Kai Kamara up there. You know Kai Kamara is going to score goals, and it's either going to be Higuain or one of the other midfielders or wingers that's feeding him the ball. So good option. I like him. He's not on my team, but that doesn't mean anything. Moving out to the left side, we have a man. Well, that's interesting. We might have to pause here. He's not even on this list.
A few moments later.
There he is. Okay, I found him. It's under the fantasy tab. He's listed as Cedric. But on this sheet, he is listed by his first name, Mamboati. Pretty cool name. He did play a little bit in the MLS last year. He only played like 230 minutes, so not a lot. Don't know what the story is there, to be honest with you. But on this sheet, he is starting. Now, this might be where you see Justin Meram show up more in an attacking role. So I would avoid him. He's fairly expensive at $8 million. Again, for a guy that you're not sure of, just not worth it. The guys you know that get points, that start, those are the guys you want. Like Ethan Finley. What a segue. Clap, clap, clap for me. That was amazing. Ethan Finley is a stud. Really, last year just came on. When Higuain was out, he stepped up, and he stepped up in a major way. Finley had 192 points last year. That is excellent. So he's a guy you want, I think. I think he's $10.5 million, just $500,000 more than Higuain. Still a great option in a high-powered attacking offense. He's not on my team, but I think he'll still have a repeat of last year. I think he'll have a really good season. He might be out on the wing, which, again, I preach and preach that they're not my favorite positions, but he gets points. He does. And Kai Kamara, up top on the forward role and where he needs to be. That's part of the reason guys like Higuain and Finley are so valuable, because Kamara, he's a monster. I would say he is a must-have. He is one of the best aerial threats in the entirety of the MLS. He had a shot to play overseas a couple years ago after he left Kansas City, and I think he did decent over there. I didn't pay him too much attention, but now that he's back, last year, fantasy stud, 203 points. Let's just look at how many goals he had. I need to know. I need to know. 22 goals. I believe that was the Golden Boot last year, wasn't it? So it's a guy that you really need on your team. Their offense hasn't changed that much, so you know they're going to gel. You know they're going to do well together, and I don't think you can afford not to have him. Don't know if I said, but he's $11 million. But that's where you want to put your money. You want to put it in the guys that score goals, and he scored 22 last year. So, yeah, definitely guy you want to have. So to wrap this up, top three guys. There's a lot of good options here, guys. Columbus, solid team, in my opinion. But I think different than most times. Normally, I seem to do a forward midfielder and either goalie or defender. But this time around, I think I'm going to go with Kai Kamara first. Absolute stud. You need to have him on your team. Second, Ethan Finley. And I think third, Higuain, because they're going to score a lot of goals, I have a feeling. I'm not saying their defense is bad. I'm just saying I think most of the points that Columbus is going to get is from their forwards, from their attackers. So take that as you will. I hope it helped out. And good luck in your fantasy season, guys. Thanks.